people have requested a walk around video, so here it is. It's my FK2 Civic Type R, and were made for just 2 years from 2015 to 2017, and held the Nürburgring lap record for a front wheel drive car in 2015. This is an almost standard example, at least from the outside, the only visible modifications being the yellow tint on the lights and 20mm wheel spacers. Everything else you can see is standard. It came in just 5 colours: blue, red, black, grey and obviously white. I actually prefer them in grey, but they're a bit more expensive and harder to find. Underneath are basically an FK8 front end and an FN2 back end. The wheels are 19s with 235 section tyres. I don't mind that bit of McDonald's drive-through damage there. The brakes are 350mm Brembo 4-pots. I've recently put a set of PBS Pro Race pads in the front, and you cannot fade these on the road or the track. The brakes are really a standout feature of the car in my opinion. And these wing vents are one of my favourite parts of the car as well. You just don't see many cars with these at all. They don't really do anything. There are holes in them, so they're not fake, but yeah, they don't really do anything. I've got Zestino semi-slick tyres on all round. I was a bit sceptical about putting these on like a daily driven car, especially in winter, but they seem absolutely fine, even in the wet and the cold. It'd be good to have a go at them in the dry and see what they can do. Rear brakes are 320mm, but no one cares about rear brakes. My other favourite part of the outside of the car is this wing. Big wings are always better. Subtlety is for boring German cars, and a hot hatch should look like a hot hatch and not regular traffic. Apparently the car makes 60 kilos of downforce, 124 miles an hour, but whatever, it just looks cool. The exhausts are Jap Speed catback. These are really cheap, like £1,000 less than the Miltech or other similar brands. I've had both the Miltech and the Jap Speed, and I can't really see any reason for the difference in price. The Jap Speed's quite a lot louder. The Miltech was more like an OEM plus type sound, so it depends what you want. The red R on the Type R badge started peeling off for some reason, so I just picked it all off and now it's all silver. Because a new Type R badge was like £50, I'm not going to do that. As a friend of mine put an EP3 Type R badge on his FK2, and it looked really good, so I might do that, I'm not sure. You can see here how much the front wings stick out, which is really cool. Again, don't mind the state of the wheel. I might get them all done in white at some point to match the car, like old school DC2s and EK9s, I don't know. So under the bonnet is the same K20C1 that you'll find in the FK8 and FL5, although the turbo is different on the FL5. You can see the InGen intake there. It sounds good and it's pretty cheap. If you can afford it, go with the Venturi. For me, I was never going to spend £1,200 on an intake, but if you're on the fence about it and you're willing to spend that kind of money, then do it, because it is better. It keeps your intake temperatures lower, because of the scoop that feeds it and the carbon pipe work and all that. So it is worth the money if you're willing to spend that. Other than that, this is standard K20C1. For those that don't know, it's a 2-litre turbo. You can see the turbo at the front there. If you buy one, don't get a turbo blanket for these. They actually don't have an exhaust manifold, and the turbo is bolted straight to the block. It's like an integrated turbo manifold in the block. So if you get a turbo blanket, it keeps the heat in, and the block is liable to crack between cylinders 2 and 3 because of all the heat that's sat there. The gearbox is the same 6-speed manual that you'll find in the FK and the FL5. Apparently it's common for these cars, the gearboxes can go bad, but I haven't really had much trouble. If you get it really hot, like on the track, they can be a bit fussy when you try and downshift. It's kind of third into second, it'll start to grind a little bit if it gets hot. Other than that, they're fine. Maybe if you're launching, you do a first to second and the wheels are still hopping, then it doesn't like it, but it's a bit of an overblown problem. Another really key feature of this car is the helical LSD that these have as standard. These cars put the power down so well, like no other front wheel drive car that I've seen. It is probably what really sets it apart from other front wheel drive cars. This one's running 381 at the crank, which is 393 uncorrected. It was a cold day. of 321 wheel horsepower. You can just plant it mid-bend, no problem. There's hardly any torque steer or understeer or anything. Almost feels all-wheel drive to drive anyway if it's dry. Some people say these should have been all-wheel drive, but they absolutely shouldn't. It would have added so much weight for no real benefit. These weigh 1380 kilos stock, which is about 200 kilos lighter than a Golf R, and the benefit would just not make up for the extra weight at all. Inside, these cars are surprisingly well equipped for a Japanese car that came out 11 years ago now. It's basically everything you'd want. This screen isn't standard, this is like a tablet that I've put in, but behind that there is actually a touch screen. Reverse camera, cruise control, lane departure warning, which you can turn off. Auto headlights with auto high beam, which is actually kind of annoying. I wish it didn't have the auto high beam, it just had the auto headlights, because it's forever kind of slow to turn off the full beam when a car's coming the other way, so I would kind of rather it didn't have that. Collision detection for when you're flying up behind 140i's that won't get out of the way. There's a ton of options for the top screen as well, the dials, but I only really use two. One of them tells you boost pressure, coolant temperature, oil pressure and oil temperature. That's the one I use pretty much all the time. The other one is G meter on the left, and then you've got brake pressure and throttle position on the right. That's kind of useful. You can also have MPG stuff on there, but why would you want that? This car with just the remap and the intake did 100 to 200 kilometers in 9.81 seconds, which is really good for a car that's supposed to be about corners. 60 to 130 was about 11.3 seconds. Don't ask me what the 0 to 60 is, because it's probably rubbish. It'll be like 5 seconds. It gets off the line pretty well for a front wheel drive car, but that's not really what it's about. Buy a German car if you care about that. For some strange reason, this car also do 170 miles an hour, maybe a little bit more. Don't really know why they thought that was necessary in a hatchback, but yep, its top end is really good for some reason. It's also really stable at those kinds of speeds, so who knows, maybe the wing does do something. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more and comment what you want to see next.